You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika with our returning guest, bestselling author, witch, and longtime Fika friend, Rachel Patterson. But of course, Rachel is more than an author and a witch. She is also, and I'm reading this part because it's long. My memory only goes so far. She is also a high priestess for the Kitchen Witch Coven, elder at the Kitchen Witch Online School of Witchcraft, a blogger, podcast host of the Pagan Portal podcast, speaker, and magazine contributor, which is all very impressive, but it's not what impresses me most about Rachel. To me, Rachel is the witch next door. And I'll talk about that more throughout the show, or we'll never get to the show. So today we're going to focus on Sulis, solar goddess of the spring waters, in which Rachel does as much research as archaeological and historical as you possibly can on Sulis, and then adds her own experiences and other knowledge to create a work that will inspire you to move forward with your practice and thoughts on things. She was the first Pagan Portals author I read, the first Pagan's Portal author I interviewed way back when I was in Niagara Falls, and the reason why you may have noticed I'm a little obsessed with them today. Thank you, Rachel, for all the work you put into carving down the loads of research you do into usable guides for us all, and for never saying no to me. Welcome to Fika.
How could I? How could I ever say no to you?
I don't know, but there are people who do.
That's just rude.
It's just weird. And I will never say no to you, and we'll get along forever. So when I say that as much research as one can possibly do on Sulis, she's not one of our most familiar goddesses.
Not at all.
Why is that?
Actually, I love research. Research is one of my favorite parts of writing the books, any of the books. It takes me down so many rabbit holes. But it was difficult with Sulis because there isn't anything. There are no legends. There are no stories. There are no monks that have written stories about her, or no Roman historians have ever really mentioned her. She's just found purely at Bath in Somerset in England. It's the only place. There are altars to her. There are inscriptions to her. There are offerings and curses in her name, but all in Bath. There's been no findings of her anywhere else in the UK or in the world. I say yet because you never know, but all of my research was based really on the archaeology because there was nothing else.
And if they do come up with something somewhere, you will be buying a plane ticket quickly, right? Or a bus ticket or whatever's necessary.
Also, the thing with the archaeological evidence, there's nothing that says how people worshipped her, or there's nothing written down about her stories. It's literally from the archaeological evidence of there's a temple at the Roman baths in Bath that was built for her. And that's it. There's nothing was written down about. I mean, when you think about all the really popular goddesses, Hecate, Bridget, they've got stories and legends, and historians have written about them. There's nothing like that for Sulis. So it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle that you make up yourself, really.
But the archaeological evidence is important, even in the spiritual sense, because you can see what people offered.
Yeah.
And then from taking those offerings with all the knowledge you have on all the other goddesses and how the whole system works, you can figure out, you can make a educated guess as to who she was, what she stood for, why they would go
There's
see her.
There's a difficulty with the English deities. We aren't like Wales. We don't have the Mabinogion. We aren't like Ireland. We don't have the legends and the stories told. England didn't do that for whatever reason. So with all of our English gods and goddesses, and there are quite a few, they've just been forgotten or buried. And then when we were visited, shall we say, by the Romans.
Oh, that's so pleasant.
300 years they were with us. They brought their own gods with them. Well, actually, they brought the gods they'd stolen from the Greeks, but that's a whole other story. And they kind of brought their religion with them. So it's also interesting because Sulis, the Romans decided that Sulis was so important. They realized she was already being worshipped at Bath. In fact, there's archaeological evidence to show that a goddess, they believe Sulis, was worshipped from Mesolithic times at Bath. So she is very ancient. And I think when the Romans arrived, they realized she was really important. So they did what they did a lot, and they called her Sulis Minerva. So they took the English deity name and they tacked one of their Roman goddesses onto it. So we have to assume there were some similarities in Sulis to Minerva as well. And that kind of helps build a picture as well.
But that she was so powerful that they left her. They left the Sulis there. I mean, they paved over her spring with bricks and mortar.
But I think, that what they did, I think from my personal experience, Sulis loved, because when the Romans arrived, there were just 3 hot springs, the only natural hot springs in the UK. So quite important, quite unusual. And the Romans loved baths. They loved their bathing. So they built the Roman baths above it, but they also built a very grand temple to Sulis. And I think she's very pleased about that.
Well, we all would. We can make that assumption. Robin says, good morning, Vicky and Rachel. Thanks for another great show. You don't know yet, Robin.
There'll be lots of giggling. Lots of giggling.
Waffling is what we do best. Okay. So well, we say the curses. Okay, this is the most intriguing part about this. Is just my favorite part of the whole thing, is that people would actually bring their injustices to her, and you explain what they did with them.
It is quite unique. I'm not aware of any other situation like it with a deity. They've so far, and I say so far, that the problem with the site at Bath is that a lot of the original Roman baths and the temples are all now buried under the cathedral, the paving, all of the modern shops. So archaeological dig is still going on, but it's very difficult because you can't really say, excuse me, can you move your cathedral out the way? I need to so they might find other bits, but so far they've dug up 130 curses. And these are little square pieces of pewter with imprints on, probably made with a nib or a pointed implement of some kind. Some written in Latin, some written in a Celtic language. Just one, they think, the one they can't even understand. One of the tablets has a language on that no one even recognizes. But they're all curses. And they're all along the lines of asking the goddess Sulis to bring down vengeance, basically, on things like someone stole my towel, or someone stole my cloak, or someone stole my coins. But the funny thing about all these curses is that they'll also list who they think did it. Some of them have like 10 names on it, so hedging your bets as to see who stole it. So but the way they were written is brilliant, and it is asking for Sulis to, bring down blood vengeance. For all of these podcasts, they're all asking for, usually with something's been stolen, they're asking for Sulis to deal with the person that stole it.
and quite as you said, quite vengefully. But
Yeah.
you also say that during that time it would be a life offense. You would lose your life for stealing clothes and things, and that makes sense because you wouldn't have that many items of clothing, I would think.
No, and
They
it
didn't
wasn't a
have
big.
closets.
Nobody had big money of any kind. So yeah, the little things that we think of as little things now would have been really important.
So when I always say, if you're a writer, you cannot pick up a pagan portals without having an idea, like a fictional writer stuck in your head. So while I was telling my adult son, reading off these curses because I found them funny one morning.
They are funny. They are funny, and yes, when we read them now, they are funny.
It was a great conversation. He said, "Oh no, I just pictured a mystery, a modern day mystery in which Sulis." Because they like to be brought in, is a detective, but she brings, she might find that towel, but then they're punished with their coffee being altered, not life or death. you know, you get the bad coffee, or whatever. So there's lots of ways of bringing her alive today and bringing her back, and you're working with all of the English gods and goddesses that
I mean, over the years, I've worked with lots of different deities. I'm always been open to whoever comes my way, and there's been a variety. Some have stuck around for a bit, some have just been, and they've gone. The Kalach has been my main goddess for many, many years. She is tolerant of Sulis. Let's put it that way. But I think my pathway has really now led me to primarily English. Kalach's a little bit different. She's mainly Scottish Irish, but Sulis is definitely English. The god that I work with, Belanus, he is ancient English as well, ancient Britain, I should say. Actually, he ties in very nicely with Sulis, but I didn't realize it at the time when he first came along. But there are a lot of English deities. They've just been forgotten. I'm on a mission to resurrect them.
Well, no, there's a lot of heritage there that you're bringing back.
It is, and it is, again, this is where the archaeology is important as well, I think, because we don't have that verbal history or that written history. It is place names or one altar piece that's been dug up in a field somewhere. The ancient English deities all often were associated with places in nature, which I think Sulis is so strong because she was associated with the Solar Springs, which were quite unique. But a lot of the English rivers have deities, usually goddesses associated with them, mountains, specific nature places, landscape places often had a deity associated with them.
And that is the Kalach. Hopefully I said that right. It's so hard. Was your first book that I purchased because I had looked up, I need a story about a woman who hates winter. So I was having allergy problems and it was starting to get, and I know that stories will help you. And so she popped up, and then your book popped up. And this is why I think of Rachel as the witch next door. Because one, her books are like the neighbor hand wrote a recipe for you, telling you can substitute this or that for whatever you have in the house. So it's now they're practical, they're thrifty. I mean, you even said in the last book, don't worry about having to have a expensive occult type store item to do these things. We talk how to use tap water. On the altars, you can use toys, which had me thinking about doing the whole thing in Lego. But while you're working with that Lego, your imaging and your thinking and all of that would contribute to the altar as well. It's candles. It's like very hands-on. You just shout through the window into the next house. Rachel, I've got to get rid of that. And she has the answer.
Throw some salt at it. It'll be fine.
Well, but you also take us on those journeys. We feel like we've gone to the baths with you. Like there's just something about your writing, and then we know you're likable because all your kitchen which coven, which is now I'm thinking about an anime series.
I might have to hire you as my PR or marketing or something.
But it is, and people don't understand how important that is to a mom with a ton of kids running around, or just to be able to grab that answer and have it something that they can do without going through.
I've been there. I've been the mom with young children, but my journey started with all the structure. It did start with all the ceremonial. When I started learning witchcraft, it was way before internet, so I had to learn whatever I could get a hold of, which was quite difficult in those days. But I'd studied Wicca at first, which is brilliant, and it gave me a really good structure. But it is quite, there's order to it. and I don't want to use the word rules, but there are guidelines. And I worked my way through it, and it was brilliant. It did teach me an awful lot, but I wandered off that pathway, and I've been wandering ever since. And I kind of found myself in the spot where witchcraft shouldn't cost you lots of money. It is rooted in folk magic, and folk magic was all about using whatever you can find, whatever you've got to hand. Whether that is the spices in your kitchen cupboard or the grass in your own backyard, or everything has a magical
It's just part of your day.
Yeah.
Because that's how they did it. And I mean, that is the point. You are rooted in that. You know your stuff. And so that makes you more secure to wander. Because
experience. You have to have those experiences along the way, I think, to get to that point. But I'm still learning 30 odd years later, and I'm still learning from everyone I come in contact with, really.
Well, and with writing all of the books, it gives you a chance, as you said, to go down different rabbit holes and say, "Ooh, this is exciting," and to follow that. So, I do appreciate what you do, because it can change a life in a moment. Just with happiness. And during COVID, your talks, your chats made, I'm sure, many, many people happy, even now. But I'm less likely to get up at 4:00 in the morning. I like to do them live. Because darn it, we live on the other side of the big pond. But this is why
the talks are brilliant. The talks, as you said, they started in COVID, but they were a way for me to keep in contact with people, really. And however many years ago that is now, it probably more than I'm remembering, and they have continued, and we've built a fantastic community. And I don't even have a script. I had a script in the early days. Now I just throw a question out there, and everyone plows in with their ideas and their thoughts, and we share. And I've learned so much from it, and hopefully we all share and support each other, because it's a scary old world out there. If we can provide a little bit of support for each other, then let's do it.
And laughter and
what's that?
And cake and all of those necessary items. They're a good thing. So we talk about being practical, and I was just talking about the altar a little while ago. And I wanted to ask you, because you work with so many different deities, do you feel that you need to have, separate spaces for the different gods and goddesses, or can they merge if they're working towards the same goal? What has your experience been with this?
It depends. There's a little story, actually. The book cover for Sulis I commissioned it from a very lovely artist friend, Susie Edwards Goose. And I just said to her, Sulis, she went, yeah, I know exactly what to do. So I left it with her. She painted a beautiful picture, and the picture made its way back to me. And I thought, well, where am I going to put it? So I put it on the side of my altar where I had all of my Kelech things. Images, statues, candles, popped Sulis's picture on the side. I came down the next day to find Sulis's picture face down on the floor. Okay, the Kelech is not impressed with Sulis sharing her altar, so I have had to separate them. Although it is a bit seasonal, I like throughout the seasons, and it does kind of fit because the Kelech is my main goddess, and she's a winter goddess. Sulis is a summer goddess. So they do kind of, as we're getting to autumn, the Kelech will come more forward and Sulis will step into the background, and they do this kind of swings and roundabout thing. But it does depend who it is. Some deities will happily work with each other, others won't. In my experience with the Kitchen Witch open rituals that we used to do, we would call in 4 deities, 2 goddesses, 2 gods into our ritual, which was a little bit scary.
That's a lie.
Silly, but we did it. And it always used to work. And I think that was more by accident than anything else. But I think if you've got a big, strong, feisty deity like the Kelech, test the water. If you're going to bring someone else into her circle, you need to test it first, because some of them are a little bit testy about it. I don't have a problem mixing pantheons. I think if you are working with deity, you've got to be open to whoever comes your way, and it will be for a reason. They will have a message for you, or support or strength for you. Be open to whoever comes your way. But if you are going to set up an altar to them, just make sure that they all talk to each other. It depends. Trust your intuition.
And you learn stuff afterwards or whatever. For example, my husband, who is always bringing home things to my home, brought home a Viking type shield the one time with the sun on it. And it was a time where, things were a little chaotic, and I just wanted it to stop. So I'm like, just put it on the door. We need a shield. And then I'm sitting here reading about another pronunciation, Belinus.
Yes, Belinus.
Yeah. Belinus, and the sun and the protection and the shield. And I was like, oh my goodness, look what I did there.
I think there's a huge amount of stuff we do without knowing why we do it. And then the penny drops afterwards and you think, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. That's your intuition at work.
Yeah, no. So just be open to those, what we might call imaginings or whatever, and work with them. Now, we also oaths. I thought this was very interesting, that she is sort of like the goddess of oaths because of the justice judgment kind of thing. And I thought that's very cool to have somebody that you can go and call upon to witness that for you when it's something that you don't want to share with the world. Maybe it's like forgiving yourself or something, or taking better care of yourself. That's a helpful thing.
One of the offerings to her, one of the curses, was actually in the form of an oath. So it kind of ties in that if one person has made an oath in front of her, and the fact that she does seem to give out justice, oaths tie in really, really nicely with her and how she works.
And like you said, I mean, this is sort of where the whole wishing well idea, is this where the whole wishing well idea came? Because
we like to throw stuff in water. I don't know what it is about humans. We like to chuck stuff in water. It doesn't matter whether it's a well or a pond or anything. They hauled out. I mean, the River Thames in London, which is a huge river, they've hauled out so much stuff, Roman armors and gold shields and all sorts of stuff. Swords, quite often the sword in the lake. I mean, who doesn't know that story? But we do. We have this urge to throw things in the water. And I think that's the whole wishing well. And coins. There were something like 13,000 coins have been found in the baths, where whoever it is have put their coins into the water. And I'm hoping, I'd like to think that it was in return for something. So they asked the goddess for something and they gave an offering of coins, asking her to do it. And that for me works really well, because that's how we still do it now. We do a spell, you give an offering. Checks and balances. But there is something about chucking coins in particular into water. We
Well,
do
because
it.
they shine through.
Yeah, yeah.
They're shiny and they're pretty, and you can and they put gemstones in there and beads in there, so
The
jewelry and things.
gemstones are interesting. They found 30 odd gemstones, all carved, all look like they came out of rings. They've all got Roman deities carved on them. What we don't know, and I like the idea of this, did the guy think, I really need a favor from Sulis, so here, have everything I own in gem form? Or was he just walking by and dropped it accidentally into the thing and thought, oh no, that's gone?
Or even just taking one out and spent all his gemstones in one place.
Followed by a Roman expletive. We don't know. I think that's part of the mystery, is part of the fascination as well, I think.
Well, yes, and trying to figure it out and piece it, and to see that people were we haven't changed a lot as to what drives us,
No.
right? Like that curse board was like social media, like, oh, and just look what Joe was up to, and it could have been, and speculation on who really stole it. And once your name goes out up there was no way of.
Oh yeah, no, that was it. Named and shamed. Absolutely. But even before that, and they have dug up flint arrowheads from Mesolithic times, brand new ones, not used, and they can only assume that people were throwing in something that was precious to them.
And
As
that would have meant food and
Yeah,
safety, security, everything.
yeah.
And Arrowhead was
That the only assumption they can come up with, because there are so many of them, is that Mesolithic man was making offerings to this. Probably what was quite scary to see steam coming out of the ground and this hot. I mean, the water's like 111 degrees or something. It's really warm. Must have been quite frightening.
well, no, the first person who put their hand in to check it out would have been.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yes, no, undoubtedly. And so it's taking all of those pieces, those possibilities. You have to have an imagination. You have to have
Yeah.
the ability to connect some of that knowledge already to get to the point of this book. So though there wasn't a lot of evidence to begin with, when you start to make connections between the evidence, it starts to grow.
Yeah. And
And
I've taken a lot as well from archaeologists that worked on the original digs and that are experts in that field as well. I've read all of the ideas that they've put forward as well.
And so, yes, we have uncovered in previous episodes that Rachel is a bit of a time. I'm not going to think it. Time. What is this show? Time. It's that history show.
Traveler.
Time team. Thank you. But speaking of time travelers, I was thinking about how important the towel was in Hitchhiker of the Galaxy.
Oh yes, another one of my favorite books.
And maybe why it was so important that they took my towel. I'm stuck now. I can't move forward.
You never know. There is. I am fairly sure if we did time travel, we would go back and we'd have to rewrite most of history
because we weren't there.
Yeah. But yeah, with Sulis in particular, it was the starting point because there was nowhere else to go, so it had to be from the archaeological evidence.
Well, the spiritual stories, the myths, whatever you want to call them, are sort of like two sides of the historical thing. There's the fact, and then there's the story that people put upon the fact.
Yeah.
And so you sort of need both of them in order to get a balanced view.
Yeah. I think as well, when you're working with deity, one of the big things is that the water is obviously hot. It's also full of lots of nutrients and minerals. So it was seen as healing by the Romans, and after that as well, the healing baths. So Sulis gets lumped into she's a healing goddess. I don't think she is. I'm certain that's not or wasn't her main characteristic. It was the justice thing for me, because in a lot of the sites that have been dug up that involve water, if it's a healing place, they'd carve the shape of it. So if you had a leg problem, you'd carve the shape of a leg in miniature.
Right.
And throw it in the waters, because that's the part of the body you wanted healing. If you had headaches, you would put an image of a head in the water and ask for healing. There's nothing like that found in the spring waters at Bath. So I'm not convinced that she is necessarily a healing goddess, but that's only my thoughts.
Well, if you take the smell of sulfur, you take that steam coming up. I mean, it's like angry water.
I like it, angry water. Excellent.
But really, I mean, I don't think yes, there's minerals and it's warm, so it would cleanse and it would scientifically probably heal things that were a problem then. But no, they're looking at angry water, Rachel.
Yeah.
They're thinking,
I love it, angry water. I'm just going to copyright that.
Go ahead. Every week I come up with them. Because I'm never going to take the time to write them, so I might as well share them.
Well, I think that's also part of it. I think any journey with deity has to be a personal one, because I have this thing as well with deity. If you Google an image of a specific deity, chances are that the image will be they'll be dressed in a toga, Roman Greek type outfit, or medieval Arthurian. You never Google a goddess and get her in her jeans. It just doesn't happen.
No.
But to me, I think that deity might well show themselves to you in jeans if that's the image that you associate with them. I think deity will appear to each individual person in a way that they can understand and a way that they will recognize them. It's personal.
No. I completely get that, because how else would they can do that. So our idea of always making them, glamorous, or this is not how I see Sulis when you explain her. I do see her as more of ancient and primitive, and it's about survival, and it's about, you take my towel, you're going down, but we laugh about that now, but it was very important stuff back then. Now, even now, if you were to leave a shower and find out someone took your towel,
standing there naked, you might be quite
yeah, there's going to be curses.
But that's the Roman vision of her. Because she goes back so far before then, she would have had a different image then as well. The whole ancient Britain type with the woad, the blue faces, and probably not very many clothes.
and they were fur.
Yeah, she would have had that
fur and leather and everything that we associate with like toughness. But think about it, all of the other goddesses were on the edge of beliefs that felt that women should be more soft and gentle, and civilization was coming into, and they would be the woman was taking care of it. But she comes from a time, she was hidden from that, so she comes from a time that is just like, I'm liking her, but I am not ready for things to move forward very quickly, so I am
not. If you're thinking of an image, I guess Boudica, Boadicea, she's definitely got that. She's a kick butt goddess. And she's got that warrior energy to her.
As you said in the book, you said kick butt, and I thought, yes, this is what I see. We did. We did discuss that, Susan, that she was conflicted put together with Minerva.
with Minerva. Yeah, I think the important thing there is that the Romans did realize how important Sulis was to the people already living there. So her name comes first. So she is Sulis Minerva. So the Roman name is second. The Romans did that a lot with English deities and other deities as well. Whether it was a way of putting their power over, whether it was a way of associating, so for the Roman soldiers there, perhaps so that they recognized who Sulis was and what her characteristics were, they teamed her with Minerva so that they would know, oh yeah, she's a warrior goddess, she deals with wisdom and all of that jazz. Yeah.
So
but I think it's important that Sulis is first before Minerva.
And a lot of them weren't, but she was that strong. So it's like those book advertisements where if you liked Minerva, you may like Sulis.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
and no problems. Some of us can use reminders throughout the show. It isn't always that perfect.
I think she's got similarities to Minerva. She has got similarities.
And so this is where you find the connection of the owl.
Yes.
Owl to her as an animal. And divination. I know. Okay, so there's a fantastic book launch video on. There's an address for Rachel on the little thing that runs across the bottom, the ticker, but that's not necessary because if you just put Rachel Patterson witch into your browser, it will come up everywhere. So go to her Facebook or YouTube, and you will find a fantastic book launching video with pretty pictures of all the places that she's talking about. And the reason I'm bringing that up, I lost. But there's the history, there's the pretty pictures, there is a fine Sulis ritual.
I think it helps to picture the baths. I think it helps to see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, visual is nice. Visual is, and also it's like, so this book is like a history text, a travel blog. Yes, you too want to go to Bath, not only for the bath.
It is an amazing city. If anyone gets the chance to visit, do go.
So I want to go to Bath now. But the video, the launch video is fantastic. And this is the second one of this type. You did one for, you did the dragon one, but you also did one for gods and goddesses of England. And which was also good with the history stuff. So if you're interested in finding the real English deities, not confused with the Celtic ones and everything, because a lot of these are interchangeable. They may not think so. But
Celtic's one of those words that most of pagans and historians now go, oh, you can't use that word. It's a bit of an umbrella word, and it does bring in all sorts of things. The English deities aren't really Celtic. When you say Celtic, it usually includes the Irish and the Scottish and the Welsh. The poor English deities, because they've been long forgotten, don't get included.
Well, no, but they were wiped first. Okay, like those darn Romans. So they were, and then other things. Just think about Sulis. So there she was, and even though she liked it, then she had a temple built over it for another set of deities, and then on top of that comes the giant cathedral.
Oh, we had fun and games with that. Myself and the girls visited, the Kitchen Witch girls visited, and you can, it looms. The cathedral actually looms. It's right next to the baths and to where the temple was. And in fact, the cathedral is over part of Sulis's temple where it's been buried underneath the pavement. And you can feel Sulis's annoyance, let's call it that. That this cathedral is looming over the baths.
So now I sort of visualize her only looking in this direction.
But you can really feel the energy. You can, we walked up there and we came up to the back of the baths and we could feel the energy before we'd even stepped inside it. She's incredibly powerful.
No, I visualize her that, and I can see that. And just the fact that she's still reaching out to people.
Oh yeah.
You know, and will grow, and then maybe someday we can dig beneath the cathedral or whatever to find who knows what kind of machines they'll come up with that will leave the cathedral and dig under. So now I'm back to because I'm always sniffing out trouble. And this is more mainstream. So
I think it's probably safe we live on the opposite sides of the planet. We would get into so much trouble otherwise.
I had that written down at some point, like there would be much tea drunk and nothing else done. No, but with the Celtic thing, so the thing to do is to make sure you say the proper thing then to do would be to say Irish deities, Scottish deities.
It's about doing a little bit of research, that's all. I mean, like the Cailleach, she crosses over. You can find evidence of her in Scotland and in Ireland and in Wales, and actually in parts of Europe as well. She's a bit of a globetrotter. So it's a little bit about doing your research first. But yeah, Celtic is a bit of a kind of umbrella term for all sorts of peoples. It doesn't really narrow it down.
Okay, so just, I don't like to step on toes. So I need to keep up on this stuff. I'm not always into the end. Now the fun stuff for me.
It's all learning.
I just play stupid, and so then I can't offend anybody. Just like I didn't know. It's just silly old me. Another thing about the altars I wanted to ask you, while we're here, is I was thinking books. Putting books on, special poetry books or whatever that remind you of them, and say their direct poem and something, that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Or no?
Yeah, I'm rubbish at poetry, but
well, this is why you have a book, so you don't have to write it. Okay, you can put a guide to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Sulis to bring the importance of towels to life.
Towels, perfect. I like the connection.
And like you said, put the altar on the bathroom windowsill with like.
It is about making the connections that you associate. So yes, I mean, she's her place, her residence is hot springs. So a bath is a perfect place. Have a ritual bath in her honor. But yeah, putting even a candle or a little vase with a flower in it on your bathroom windowsill as a nod to Sulis. It's about making those connections. My offerings I give to her are usually coins, because of all the coins that have been found that have been made as offerings to her. But you might prefer to give pieces of flint to echo the flint arrowheads that were found, not arrowheads, spearheads, sorry, that were found originally. It's the connections that you make.
For you, what you
and sometimes she'll ask any goddess. If you connect with a deity, they will usually tell you what they want.
And especially I would think Sulis.
She does like her nicety. She likes her extravagant stuff. She likes grapes and wine. And
that's interesting, because you said you don't necessarily bring the food. You will bring it to them in a visualization.
Yeah. Most of my connections with her are through meditation. So quite often in the meditation, she'll say, "What have you brought me today?" And something will appear in my hands in my meditation, and it could be something random. She wanted a tray of leeks once, so I have no idea why, but that's what she wanted. But often it's cheese and grapes, and things that I associate really as well, I suppose.
Do you cook with
Roman way of life?
Do you cook with leeks often?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
So maybe she just saw them and thought, what the heck are those? I want to taste them. Just noodling has origins deep in the earth. Yes, we did discuss that, Susan. I'll just put it up so that
There are they've translations of the name Sulis, and one of those is that the name means eye or gap, and the idea is that that referred to the hot springs coming up through the gap in the earth.
And there is a whole section in the book where you describe the geology behind how they were formed.
No one knows why it happens, apparently, but they know how it all happens. But yeah, the translation of her name, I think to me, it could be the gap, the springs coming up through the eye in the earth. But I also think for me that it has got that seer connection.
Which is what, yes.
And of course the soothsayer connection as well. But I think also it could be, she's definitely got an underworld connection as well, I think, because of that springs connection.
Divination. My favorite. Everybody's favorite. Okay, so why divination?
The soothsayer, the haruspex, I'm sure it's not pronounced like that really in Roman. There was a dedication found, and it referred to a haruspex, which is basically translates as someone who reads guts. It's a delightful job title. Hello, what do you do for a living? Oh, I read guts. And it's quite a unique find. The way that the dedication was written, they're not sure whether there was a haruspex, a soothsayer, basically, someone who told fortunes. They don't know whether there was a person dedicated to the temple full time, or whether it was just someone passing through. But there's a full-on dedication to this person. So it was obviously quite important. The Romans did have soothsayers that read animal. I should have mentioned animal guts, not human ones.
That was going through my head, but then you
should have mentioned that. But the Romans did have soothsayers that would read guts, but whether this was a permanent fixture there or not, we don't know. But it was obviously quite an important person.
Well, to have a dedication, you would think they would have spent some time there.
So for me, that connects her very strongly with divination. Not that I'm going to do it with animal guts. I'll stick with my tarot cards.
No. No. By the time any of that comes into my life, that part of the animal is gone, and I like it that way. In Saran.
It was a common Roman practice, so it makes sense that there was.
I think everybody sort of did it in a little bit of a way. I mean, with the wrens. So anyhow, not that I want to call anyone out on it if I'm not exactly sure, because that kind of thing sticks. Once again, with the practicalities in the divination areas, you're saying take water, and if you don't have special water, just boil the tap water if you don't feel that if you think it needs a little.
Yeah, if you're not happy with tap water and all the stuff that's in it, just boil it and cool it, and then you've got rid of all the nasties. But water is it's one of the most practical and easy things to divine with, is scrying. Put the water in a bowl, allow the full moon to shine on it or the reflection of a candle flame, and that just gives a bit of movement on the surface. Ask a question and read any images or reflections you see. It doesn't even have to be a bowl of water. It can be a pond or a lake or even a puddle, because the water surface acts like a scrying mirror. It's brilliant fun to do.
You can see, and sometimes you can even find, like, there was a point where we did, living near the escarpment, which is hills and sandstone and the pressure of the stones in layers on top of each other, there was a natural spring on an edge, and it just came. They put a tube in and water just came in. I used to send my husband there to get water for meditation, not knowing I was doing it for any purpose. But then, people come in and they board it off with no trespassing, and they're selling the spring water. I was thinking with this, there's also sulfur springs down there, but It's not quite as it's not quite as pleasant.
It tastes disgusting. I can confirm. It tastes.
Did you? Oh no, you did it, Rach.
I've drunk it. Yes. Now, the first time I visited many years back, you could actually they would give you cups with the water in, and you could just taste it there. It's vile. It's warm and it tastes yucky. They don't let people do that now because there's so much algae has grown in the actual baths. If you see any photographs of the main Roman bath, it's quite a green color.
Yeah.
That's the algae, and it will make you very, very poorly. So they do sell bottles of the water, but they take that direct from the source before it gets to the baths. But it tastes disgusting.
See, I could have imagined that. I could have tasted it in a vision instead.
Yeah.
No.
You need lots of whiskey with it.
Rachel. It's okay. Before we get on to, because I want to give you because I've gotten myself in trouble. We'll just do that now. If you gave one warning about working with Sulis, what would it be? When shouldn't we?
She moves fast. She moves at 100 miles an hour. So be prepared. She is, if you give her a problem, she'll solve it, but she will bring a lot of chaos with it. In my experience, good chaos, because we do need a bit of chaos. We do need changes, life's ever moving, but whatever it is, she will move things really quickly. And if you're not prepared for it can be
if you have to clean the house first, I'm not jumping into this one.
In my experience, she's powerful, but she moves things along pretty quickly. So your feet aren't going to touch ground. So be prepared.
But if you want things to move along quickly, then
Brilliant.
She's the lady to go to. Robin, I haven't forgiven him for the solidified water question, but this one's better. Seen interesting videos on how water has kind of a memory and is alive. What do you think?
I have, yes, there's been a whole load of research about it, all to do with vibrations. I'm not a scientist, so I am an animist, though. So for me, everything has energy, whether it is water or a pebble or a shell or a house brick. It's all got energy, and that can all be tapped into. So if you think about water, the oceans, I mean, it's so powerful that, yeah, absolutely. It's alive. It is alive with energy. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, even if you look at it from the scientific aspect, I have a nephew who's very, teaches science and stuff. I don't know where the DNA came from, but let's talk about that. But he will say everything has energy.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's a tree or whatever, it makes sense on both spheres.
Science and magic for me go hand in hand.
Yeah, no, because it's that
Absolutely.
whole alchemy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about divination as well. It starts with L. Where are we now? That I hadn't. The lexic, is it lex?
Lithomancy?
Yeah, lithomancy. Okay, where you take items and you can just pick them up off the ground or whatever and give yourself a reading.
Lithomancy is about drawing together items in a set. Think runes, if you are familiar with runes. Items that you bring together, you literally shake them, throw them, see where they fall. Think Tiadama in Pirates of the Caribbean, when she takes the crab claws and the shells and throws them and then does a reading. That's a lithomancy set. I've got sets made with pebble, a shell, a crystal, a shark tooth fossil, an acorn. Each item has a meaning. So if I have an acorn in my kit, it would probably be new beginnings. If I had a coin in my lithomancy set, I would associate that with money matters. And you take pebble might be grounding or family matters. You just take the items, throw them on just on the table if you want to, and see where they fall. You have to use your intuition for this one. If your coin fell heads down, you might take that money finances weren't so good. If it falls head upwards, you might think, oh, money's coming in. It's a lot about using your intuition. but it's also about connecting with the energies of those items that you've picked. But
And
it's
it's
a
usually
brilliant
like
way to make a set.
12 items, or is that too many?
I think 10 to 13, I would say, anywhere between there. It
And it's
gives you
very
enough to
personal.
work with, but not too many. You don't want sort of 50 pieces all flying all over. Yeah,
No.
it is. It's really personal, and it will be buttons. I quite often put a button in my kit because a button for me is about. It might be opening something. It might be closing something.
Right. So in the same stance, you could use a key or
Keys, brilliant. Keys unlocking mysteries or unlocking secrets or locking stuff up. It is about reading how those things fall and if they fall next to each other, or it's about
so once again, you make a divination set for yourself out of nothing, and
Yeah.
that would have been
I think a lot of people would have done that.
Robin, sorry for going off topic, Robin. That is what you do. I will always wondered, where did your everyday curse words originated from, their effect, and why are they kind of universal in most cultures?
Curse words have changed, though, haven't they? Because there are curse words we use these days that didn't used to be curse words as well.
Well, and words that are no longer considered curse words that I would. Okay, first of all, I want to point out there is a big difference between what is acceptable in Great Britain, particularly Scotland, and North America. I feel
there
like
are some words that are used in America and not Britain, and that actually, yes, they have different meanings.
Yeah, so so that is important, but I think don't you think that a lot of it has to do with, like, I would get really in trouble for saying geez because that was considered a curse word because it was a short form for other things that they found important. Whereas it's just what people find unpleasant.
I must admit, I don't use profanities. I am very Victorian in my ways.
Oh my goodness!
I am very Victorian.
See, this is why you can't stereotype, because Rachel is covered in tattoos. And she doesn't curse.
I don't. Everyone laughs at me. They do. The strongest, I might say flip flop. About as tough as it gets.
That is we don't know, Robin.
I know Shakespeare. If you look at Shakespeare, he has some amazing words that you can use for profanities. That he's got some brilliant stuff that's worth looking up.
So, and even though you may live in the land where some words are more acceptable, some people still don't use them.
I'm a little bit unique.
a little tiny bit unique. Okay. I have to ask, which is always scary business with you, but what do you have in the works, Rachel?
Well, I think I have 6 signed book contracts at the moment. I've got a Hedge Witch book coming out December time, hopefully.
Oh, we know that this year?
Yeah,
December
it should be this year.
I want that one.
And what else? I am writing a book about Minerva because she ties in so well with Sulis. I'll be writing a book about her as well. So, lots of stuff coming out.
Well, this is the thing. Do you just decide you're going to write what you're interested in, and people give you a contract on it?
I am very, very lucky that the wonderful Trevor at Moon Books, I get this idea in my head, and I go to Trevor, and he says, I like that idea.
I think Trevor must be a very strong person.
He's lovely. But I wouldn't write about something that I don't work with or that I didn't know about. It's usually something that I've been working with or that I've come across and delved into.
Well, because personal experience is so much a part of your book, and that is that interest. This is the final time I'm putting you up, Robin, because you're just causing trouble. Did we find anything about the candles on birthday cakes?
No, because I'm at that age now where I won't allow birthday cake candles on my cake.
Well, but if we do all the work for you, Robin, what will there be for you to do?
My question is, Robin, did you find out?
Because next time Rachel is on, we want you to tell us.
That's your challenge.
We'll be waiting. And I want to suggest once again for and Sulis can be found at most of your online,
all the usual places. Yeah,
and it's only like it's it's only like I'm just laughing at Robin people. and they are really, really very thriftful books on ebook. There is, and like I said, it's like just reaching for that hand, that help. The way recipes used to be before people started writing their entire life stories before the and you care about the people, but you really don't care if those chocolate chip cookies made them happy. You just want to know if they taste good and how much butter they take. So definitely look into Rachel's books or any of the pagan portals. Looking forward to Hedgewitch. And was there anything else? And just be thankful that we're not on the same side of the ocean.
We will get into a lot of trouble. There would be arrests and everything, I'm sure.
Okay, so don't swear, but sure, go ahead and get arrested. Rachel, thank you so much for coming. And
no problem. Always lovely to be here.
And take care. And I will definitely be calling you when this Hedgewitch comes out.
Absolutely.
So, call me first. Okay. Robin's chuckling at his desk. Excellent. He thanks us. That's all our job is done.
Yeah.
It's done. You take care and we'll talk later, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. That was a lovely, lovely time. For the rest of you, next week, here we go. Reva Leah Stern will be on and we'll be talking about her book, I Say My Name. Mystery writer Michael Coleman parks at a seedy coffee shop, sits and opens his laptop. He can't help but notice a bedraggled little urchin sitting by a window, alone and shivering. And it goes on. So, mystery. Until then, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone.